Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to Millennium High School Athletics Spring Sports Parent Meeting. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video today. First, I'd like to congratulate your son or daughter on making one of our spring sports teams. That's awesome. We have a number of students who try out for these sports. We have some very successful teams. So the fact that they made it says a lot about them as a student athlete. We're excited for the season ahead. The reason for this video is to make sure that we're all on the same page and have some important information so that your son or daughter can have a successful season. I'd like to begin by introducing myself. My name is Mr. Gordillo or Mr. G. Most people tend to refer to me as Mr. G, and I'm fine with that. I'm Assistant Principal Athletic Director here at Millennium. This is my 8th year overall at Millennium High School and my 7th as the Athletic Director here. Prior to being here, I was the Athletic Director at another school in the West Valley. So I've been fortunate to be here at Millennium. I love being a Tiger and look forward to supporting your son or daughter this spring season. If you see me at the games, please feel free to stop by and say hi. I'd love to meet you and love to talk with you. I'm going to try and get through this video as fast as possible for you to not take up much of your valuable time. But thank you again for watching. First, I'd like to introduce our athletic trainers. We have two athletic trainers here at Millennium High School. We have a little bit different model than we've had in the past. So we now have a full-time athletic trainer and then a part-time athletic trainer. So what that means is that there's one trainer that will be here after school every day, the evening every day at the majority of the games. And then we have a second trainer who will assist when there's multiple events going on, as well as assist every day after school for rehab and for students that need to be seen. So our full-time athletic trainer this year is Carly Walkup. Carly she's actually works for Banner, but is assigned to Millennium High School. She's done an awesome job so far this school year, and know that she'll do a great job this spring working with your son or daughter. Cassie Barlow is our part-time trainer. She's a teacher here at Millennium High School, teaching the sports medicine classes, and then she is our part-time trainer here after that. You can see the contact information for both of them below. Want to go through a few things. First of all, hopefully we hope that everybody stays healthy this spring season. But in sports, sometimes students do receive injuries. I would encourage you, if your son or daughter is injured, to have them be evaluated by either Carly or Cassie. Either of them will do a great job in evaluating them. They can then direct your son or daughter, as well as yourselves, in the right direction, whether that's you need to be seen by somebody else, a specialist, orthopedic, or anyone else that they may be seeing. Obviously, you are free to take your son or daughter to whoever you want for medical treatment. That is completely your right as a parent. Just want to explain the process to get cleared to return. If they receive an injury, um, and then they are seen by an outside doctor, whether that's the emergency room, whether that's urgent care, or that's their primary care doctor or an orthopedic. Once they've been seen by someone outside of the school, they need to have written clearance that is specific on what they can and can't do, as well as when they are cleared to return to action. That written clearance needs to be sent to myself, as well as to both Carly and Cassie, and their emails again are there below. Once they receive that written clearance, they will then evaluate the student athlete as well as that written clearance and clear them to return to play. Please understand that our trainers are they're the ones that have the final say on clearing someone to return. So sometimes that's in line with the doctor. Sometimes when they are cleared, they may feel that it's better for the student to wait a little bit longer. That's never from the place of they're just looking for them to miss more games or to not, or they're just out to cause them to miss more time. It's always from a place of what they feel is best for the student athlete. So please trust them. Please work with them. Please communicate with them. They'll be happy to communicate with you. But one thing I do want to specify is when they are seen by someone, um, they need to be cleared by that same doctor. So you can't go to one doctor that says, hey, you need to miss 2 weeks and then be reevaluated, but then go to a different doctor that says, oh no, they're good to go. So it needs to, once you're seen by one doctor, we need to follow that doctor's protocols, and then that same doctor needs to clear them. If you have any questions on that, please feel free to contact them or myself. Again, hope everybody stays healthy this year so that we don't have any issues. Next, I'd like to talk about academic eligibility. As you've heard, I'm sure you've heard the term student athletes. Student comes before athlete for a reason. You have to be a successful student in order to be an athlete here at Millennium High School and in the Agua Fria Union High School District. So there's two parts to our academic eligibility policy here in our district. The first part is credits earned. So each grade level has to have earned a certain number of credits in order to be eligible to compete in athletics at Millennium High School. Freshmen just arrived to campus this school year. They have not had a full year to earn credits yet. Therefore, there's no credits earned requirement for freshmen. However, sophomores must have earned at least 4 credits. Juniors must have earned at least 10 credits, and seniors must have earned at least 16 credits. These are the numbers that are required for each grade level. You have to have earned the number of credits prior to being able to play a sport. If a student athlete is deficient in the number of credits, then they are academically ineligible to compete. They could practice with the team at the coach's discretion, but they would not be able to play in any games. There is a one-time academic waiver that can be applied for if a student athlete is deficient in credits. That waiver is completed with their counselor with a return to, to get back on track to graduate on time. And then that is submitted to the principal, who ultimately has the final say on whether to approve that or not. Please understand a few things with that. One, they can only be that can only be used once during their time at Millennium High School. So if that's used their sophomore year, they couldn't use that again as a junior or senior, or if it's their junior year. So I would please understand that if they are credit deficient, that waiver can only be used one time during their 4 years here. Hopefully, everybody stays on track to graduate. The numbers that you see there for earned credits, those aren't numbers that were just randomly chosen. That's the number of credits at each grade level that says that a student is on track to graduate on time. We love having your students here, but we also want to put them in a position where they can graduate from here and move on with the next chapter of their life. In order to do that, they have to have earned the number of credits here at each grade level to be on track to graduate. Second part of the academic eligibility policy is when we check grades. Okay, so students have to be passing their classes in order to be eligible. Grades are checked every 4.5 weeks at Millennium High School. So why every 4.5 weeks? Every 4.5 weeks is an official grading period in our district. That's either a progress report or that's a report card. At the time that grades are due for a progress report or a report card, we pull the grades for everybody that's on a roster. Any student that has at least one F becomes automatically academically ineligible for a minimum of 1 week. So grades come out on a Friday, they would become academically ineligible Saturday. We would recheck their grades the next Friday. If they're passing their classes, they would regain eligibility that Saturday. However, if they are still failing their class, then they would remain academically ineligible until they are passing. At that point, they've sat their week. So the moment that they are passing, they would notify myself. I would check to verify that and then would clear them. So let's say we check grades on Friday and they're still failing that class, but then Monday they're passing and they notify me. They would become eligible right away on Monday. They wouldn't have to wait another week. So it's automatically 1 week. And then after that, it's as soon as the student is passing their class that they regain their eligibility. Okay. In the spring, we don't have to talk about the semester. In the semester, middle of the year, end of a semester is a 3 week sit period, but that won't impact any of the spring athletes, so we don't have to get into that. But again, we check grades every 4.5 weeks. Student must be passing all their classes in order to remain academically eligible. If they are failing, they become academically ineligible for a minimum of 1 week. Another important point: if they are failing, the person to contact if you have questions or concerns or don't feel a grade is accurate is the teacher of the class. Okay, if you contact me, I'm going to redirect you to the teacher. The teacher is the one that can explain what the grade is, why it's that way, if the grade is accurate or not accurate. So please, again, reach out to the teacher if you have any questions on a grade. Participation fee. Our school district does have an athletic participation fee for all students who participate in extracurricular activities here at Millennium High School. So that participation fee is $100. Any student that qualifies for free or reduced lunch, it is $50. That fee is due prior to the first game. So if the participation fee is not paid by the time games start, the student would not be able to participate in games until the fee is paid. You should have already received notification from the bookstore that your son or daughter has had a participation fee charged to their account because they've made a team, and as well as instructions on how to pay that fee. So we track that, we look at that, we notify coaches as games approach if somebody has not paid their fee. So please make sure that you check your email if you have not received that. If you feel like, hey, I've never received an email with the instructions on how to pay this, feel free to contact myself, and then I can get you that information so that you can get the participation fee paid and they don't miss any games. Transportation. Student athletes are required to ride on all for all games, any away event, any school sponsored activity, they're required to ride on school provided transportation, both to and from the game. Okay. So please understand that you won't be able to take your son or daughter to a game and drop them off, or you won't be able to pick them up from a game and drop them off. They have to ride to and from school provided transportation for all school-sponsored activities, which games, tournaments, invitationals, etc., are all considered school-sponsored activities. If you have any questions with that, please feel free to reach out to me. I would be the person to contact if you have any questions about that. If you contact the coach, they're going to tell you that you have to ride the bus and to contact me. I do want to make clear here. Sometimes people think, oh, I could just sign a waiver and then we can we could take them or we can drop them off. That is not the case. Emergency situations, you can contact me, or unique circumstances, you can contact me, and I can guide you from there. But student athletes need to ride on all school provided transportation to all school sponsored activities. Thank you. Attendance policy. Students must attend at least half of their classes in a school day in order to be eligible to practice or play in games. Okay, so there's 6 periods in a school day. The students need to attend at least 3 of those in order to be eligible to participate. If there are extenuating circumstances, you can contact me. What are extenuating circumstances? Funerals, doctor's appointments, orthodontist appointments, dentist appointments, things along those lines. We're not going to penalize a student and say you can't practice or you can't play in a game because of that. That's understandable in those situations. But in general, the policy is students must attend at least half of the classes in order to be eligible to practice or play in games. Coaches can track attendance daily through a tool that we have for coaches called Coaches Corner, as well as monitor students' grades as well. So a coach is able to see if somebody has been at school or not. Code of conduct. Our district does have an athletic code of conduct for all student athletes and for all student athletes to follow. We take that code of conduct seriously here at Millennium High School. I would encourage you to review that code of conduct with your student athlete. It is in the Register My Athlete amongst the documents that you read and sign that you're agreeing to. Sometimes we're rushing to get our student athlete cleared and we don't always read through everything thoroughly. If that's you, I would encourage you again to go back with your son or daughter, sit down, read the athletic code of conduct to make sure that you understand the expectations of student athletes here at Millennium High School. Um, Violations of code of conduct could lead all the way up to dismissal of a student athlete from a team, which is why it's important to read. But what are some things that would be automatic dismissals? Uh, excuse me. Possession of drugs or alcohol, consumption of drugs or alcohol, being under the influence of those are all reasons for student athlete to be removed immediately for the remainder of that season. Why would we do that? Because we are assuming liability for students when we take them to other campuses, when we have them on our campus. They're in possession of those items. That becomes a legal matter. That becomes a school discipline matter, and those are things that you could expose someone to something that they wouldn't normally be exposed to otherwise. So we have a zero tolerance for drugs and alcohol, and a student athlete would be removed from the team for that. Um, Acts of aggression, fights, fighting somebody, assaulting somebody would be violations of code of conduct that would lead to immediate dismissal from the team. Uh, why is that? Athletics are competitive. They are emotional. There's a lot of passion that goes into it. If a student has demonstrated that they cannot control their emotions to the point of not being able to be involved in a fight or an assault, why would we put them in an environment, or how can we trust them in an environment where they could again be in a situation where they respond in an inappropriate way? So that is why. So those are things that could lead to automatic removal. Another thing that unfortunately is an epidemic in schools is vaping. Two types of vaping. There's the vaping of nicotine-based products and the vaping of marijuana wax products. Nicotine-based products would not lead to automatic dismissal. There would be a suspension of games. Second offense would lead to removal from the team. But, uh, but vaping marijuana wax, that's a drug, a narcotic, and that would be automatic removal from the team for the rest of the season. So again, I encourage you to read through the code of conduct with your student athlete to make sure everybody's aware of the expectations. You might be new to Millennium High School this year, whether it's at the start of this school year, whether it's been in the middle of the school year. So the AIA does have a transfer policy. So I want to make sure that all transfers are aware of what needs to be completed in order to be eligible. Any student that's attended another high school prior to Millennium are considered transfers. There's a 550 form that has to be completed that is in Register My Athlete. Sometimes as a transfer, they don't click on the link and fill it out. You can also go to aiaonline.org. Again, aiaonline.org and complete the 550 form there. But that is required because that is a document that determines, for us to determine student athletes' eligibility. First time transfers are required to sit out the first 50% of the season. So what that means is the first 50% of PowerPoint games. They have to sit out if a sport doesn't have PowerPoint games and it's just the first 50% of the opportunities. If students transfer more than once, then they're required to sit out a full season. You can contact me with questions regarding the transfer policy. Again, this is the AIA's policy. This is not a Millennium High School specific policy. I want to kind of talk about communication protocol if there are issues. Completely understandable that along the way you may have a question about something the coach is doing or something the coach has done. Your student athlete may have a question. So the correct protocol for that is for obviously to talk to your student athlete first, your student athlete to communicate with the coach any questions, concerns that they may have, and then for you yourself to contact the coaches via email to request a scheduled meeting for any concerns or issues. Uh, Please do not approach coaches before or after practice or before or after games. At that point, they're on duty, responsible for all student athletes, and that's not the appropriate time. Scheduling a meeting with them allows a coach to be focused on you as well as your son or daughter so we can have a productive conversation. Uh, Times to contact me would be if you feel that your son or daughter, has been mistreated, discriminated against, things of that nature, so that I can launch an immediate investigation. Questions about playing time, style of play, philosophy, those are questions that you would contact the coach for. Contact me. I'm going to redirect you back to the coaches to schedule a meeting. I'm not at every practice. I'm not at every game. They can specifically answer those things. We we believe in hiring the best coaches. Believe that we have some of the best coaches in the state, and in saying that, we empower them to do their jobs and trust them in doing their jobs. And would encourage you to communicate with them any questions that you may have. Lastly, I want to talk about referees or officials. Please that um, understand that we're not going to like all calls that referees make. That includes myself. I don't agree with every call that a referee makes, but there's a correct way to handle that. Please let the coaches communicate with officials any questions or concerns. Yelling from the stands at referees or cursing at them from the stands is not going to change their calls. It's not going to help us get better calls along the way. So again, please let the coaches communicate with officials. Coaches also have an evaluation tool they can use after games to evaluate referees, which is used by the AIA in selection of referees for playoffs. I also have some methods in terms of being able to communicate regarding referees or officials. So that's something that the school should handle, not something that you should be addressing or try to take into your hands. Do not approach the officials at any time before or after games. That is something that there's zero tolerance by the AIA and zero tolerance by us for that. That could lead to people not being allowed to attend games. We don't want anyone to miss their son or daughter's games. So please make sure you refrain from speaking to officials. Kind of want to go back 1 second. One thing I forgot to say in the communication protocol is one of the things I've been an athletic director for about 12 years now at two different schools, and see some kind of consistent things. And one of those things is confused student athletes. And what I mean by that is a student athlete has a coach that is obviously coaching that student the way they want them to play, things they want them to do, but then sometimes parent doesn't agree with that, and then at home is telling the student athlete something completely different. um, Obviously, a student athlete, wants to do what a coach says to give them the best opportunity to get playing time, be successful in the way that the coach wants them to play. But they love their parents, and want to please parents as well, rightfully so. So when you have those two sides saying different things, it can lead to a confused student athlete. Um, I'm not saying that you need to agree with everything that a coach says or does. I would ask to be cognizant of the position that a student athlete gets put in when the coach and parent are not on the same page and are communicating different things. And that's just something to be cognizant of. Again, we're all going to have our opinions. Just ask that we keep our student athletes in mind as we look through those things. Again, I thank you for taking the time to watch this video. And along the way, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. At any time, I'm happy to converse with you and answer any questions you may have. Have a great season this year. Look forward to seeing you at the games. Go Tigers.